Subscribe to WROK on YouTube and never miss a meeting.
All right, welcome everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. Thank you for bearing with us. We had a little bit longer closed session than normal. I want to introduce to you tonight an honorary mayor, Lainey Berry. She's a third grader at Keller Elementary, and she's also the de facto mayor of the Whittier Park neighborhood. Anybody in the Whittier Park neighborhood knows Lainey and knows she keeps it in order, right, Lainey? And so she was the beneficiary, the award winner of a auction where we got to have ice cream together. I'm not sure how she won it. I feel like I won something to be able to have ice cream with Lainey. And part of it was a little tour of City Hall. And so tonight we thought it would be great if she could open up tonight's meeting and call it to order and be the official honorary mayor that she is. Any words, Lainey, before we open? Okay, all right. I don't think I've ever seen Lainey so shy. All right. So what you're going to do is here's the gavel, and then you say, I'm Mayor Berry, and I'm proud to open up tonight's Royal City Commission meeting. Okay? Speak right into there.
I'm Mayor Lainey, and I am proud to open up WROK Commission meeting.
And we're in order. Thank you so much. And so next on tonight's agenda is an invocation given by Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Laney. As we gather in this hallowed chamber, I'm reminded of the vital role that public service plays in our lives and how it shapes our community. It's with both a sense of pride and tribute and hope that we gather, honoring our dear friend Pat's memory tonight. Pat's dedication to our city was truly something special. She wasn't just doing a job, she was fulfilling a purpose that she deeply believed in. Her commitment, her insights, and her determination were a true example of what it means to serve our community. I know that Pat's spirit will continue to guide us. Her passion for service is a light that illuminates the path we all follow. Just as Pat embraced her role wholeheartedly, let's recommit ourselves to this community, knowing that the hurdles we face today will shape the victories we celebrate tomorrow. Today was the start of a fresh school year here in Royal Oak, and you could feel the sense of optimism for the future in the air. As students are finding their seats, it's nearly impossible not to even envision among us that there's a future leader who is in those classrooms today. A young soul who, following the path Pat so beautifully illuminated, will shape our community's direction and enhance the lives of those they touch. So I believe it's fitting to conclude with words that Pat shared during her last invocation just a few months ago. Quoting Pat, "May we all go forward tonight feeling blessed that we can bear witness to the accomplishments of so many, including those in our community whose years of experience light our path forward. Let's let their legacy light our way forward. Pat, your legacy will be lighting the way forward for Royal Oak for some time to come. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Colo, for a touching, meaningful, and relevant invocation. Indeed, so much to unpack there. I'm grateful for those words. Thank you. Okay. I have a lot of paperwork on my desk right now. If you bear with me for 1 second, I have to get a little organized.
Right back, Mayor Laney.
I know. I think Mayor Laney had this well more organized than I did. All right. I'm Next on the agenda tonight is to read two proclamations. The first is a proclamation designating September 2023 National Recovery Month. And the second is a proclamation designating September 2023 National Suicide Prevention Month. And I believe Marissa Rose of the Oakland County Health Network is here with us today. So I'm going to come on down and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for accepting these proclamations. And thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So we'll see if I can get this to work. Okay. Whereas, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, in 2021, 16.5% of Americans, that's 46.3 million people, 12 years or older, were classified as having a substance use disorder in the past year, including 29.5 million people who were classified as having an alcohol use disorder, and 24 million people who were classified as having a drug use disorder. And whereas, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, over 105,000 overdose deaths occurred in the United States in 2022, a 2% decrease from 2021. And whereas substance use recovery is important for individual well-being and vitality, as well as for families, friends, communities, and businesses. And whereas the Oakland Community Health Network continues to educate and raise awareness of risk and potential harm associated with prescription drug misuse, and whereas stigma and stereotypes associated with substance abuse use disorders often keep people from seeking treatment that could improve their quality of life. And whereas substance use disorders occur when the recurrent use of alcohol and/or other drugs cause clinically or functionally significant impairment, such as health problems, disability, and failure to meet major responsibilities at work, school, or home. And whereas substance use disorder recovery is a journey of healing and transformation, enabling people to live in a community of their choice while striving to achieve their full potential. And whereas substance use disorder recovery benefits individuals with substance use disorders by focusing on their abilities to live, work, learn, and fully participate and contribute to society that enriches the community culture. Now therefore be resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission hereby proclaim September 2023 as National Recovery Month in Royal Oak and call upon individuals, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of substance use and the need for appropriate and accessible services to promote recovery. And I'll just read both of them.
You're doing such a good job.
Thank you, public schools. I learned to read.
Yeah, that's good. They did a good job.
Proclamation designating September 2023 National Suicide Prevention Month. Whereas September is known as National Suicide Prevention Month and is intended to help raise awareness surrounding suicide prevention resources available in the community. And whereas World Suicide Prevention Day is observed each year on September 10th. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, each year more than 48,000 people die by suicide. And whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death for people 10 to 34 years of age, the fourth leading cause among people 35 to 54 years of age, and the eighth leading cause among people 55 to 64 years of age. And whereas organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 988 work to help individuals in crisis and provide resources to shed light on this highly stigmatized topic. And whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. And whereas Oakland Community Health Network is committed to being a zero suicide organization and cultivate a network of providers who are engaged in the zero suicide philosophy. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and members of the Royal Oak City Commission hereby proclaim September 2023 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Royal Oak and call upon individuals, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of suicide prevention and the need for appropriate and accessible services to assist individuals in crisis. It's my honor to present
Thank you.
these proclamations to you, Marissa Rose. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Can you guys hear me? I have a big voice, so I probably don't even need this, but thank you so much to to the mayor, to the council. Thank you guys so much for all that you do to bring community awareness to these topics, these issues that affect all of us. I'm quite sure everyone in this room has had their lives touched by mental illness, and Oakland Community Health Network is the mental health arm for Oakland County. So, you know, if you know someone in crisis, just remember the number 988. That is the national hotline now, and you can get right directly to someone who can talk you out of crisis or pass that along. And of course, visit our website. But we are here in the community, many, many resources for folks that suffer with developmental disabilities, substance use disorders, as well as developmental disabilities, mental illness, all of those. Regardless of your ability to pay, there are many, many programs that are there and available for you. So thank you so much to Royal Oak. Thank you, Mayor. You did a wonderful job reading this. And I just really appreciate it, and we appreciate all you do to strengthen the community. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I borrow someone to snap a picture of me and the mayor and the proclamation? Someone?
I'm 300 days sober.
That's awesome. Let's give him one more hand. That's not easy. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
Thank you. All right. Item number 6 on tonight's agenda is going to be a tough one. It wasn't too long ago that we learned of Commissioner Perush's illness, and it was even a shorter period of time when we learned about how severe and problematic that illness was. Commissioner Perush, I think all of you in this room heard, passed away, which was also the timing of that kind of a shock. We knew that inevitably her battle with her illness would be a strong one, a tough one, but ultimately she succumbed to the illness after a tough fight sooner than we even expected. We all had a chance to see her a couple weeks ago, and remarkably, even in her battled condition, she was comforting to us. She was alert and joking and giving us advice and telling us stories and being Pat all the way to the end. Tonight, we wanted to take an opportunity not just to mourn the loss of a good friend, colleague, mentor, and seasoned public servant, but also take a moment to celebrate who Pat was, who she is, her accomplishments, some of our memories about Pat, and celebrate everything of who she is. I warn you, this is going to be challenging tonight. I think all of us up here, we're pretty close to Pat. For most of you, you see us up here twice a month in our sport coats and whatever else we wear up here and dealing with agenda items and public comment. But there's a lot of time that we spend consulting each other, talking to each other as friends. And Pat, you have a functional commission up here because of the leadership of Pat, because of what she brought to the table. And there's a lot of things that folks in the public don't always see. A lot of leadership you don't always see on display that happens. And a lot of kindness and camaraderie among commissioners. We may not always agree, we may be on the other end of votes. I'm not looking at you two in particular, although that's probably factually true. But we all respect and appreciate and love each other up here, and have a fondness for each other, and certainly I'd argue to say our matriarch of this commission, Pat Perush, certainly we respected and loved dearly. And so this is going to be challenging tonight, but sharing some memories of Commissioner Perush, I think will maybe help us process this a little bit. I don't do this often. I don't know where to start. I don't know if anybody wants to, maybe Commissioner Colo?
No. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last, knowing I had the vacation tonight, I spent a lot of time this last week kind of just thinking about Pat and trying to reflect on her and who she's been. And, personally to me, Pat has always been a mentor on this commission, and it goes back even before I was appointed. Pat and I share, she had multiple sclerosis, which I also have, and she sat down with me a couple years ago. We just talked about the disease and how that impacts someone in a public position, and how that impacts your body and ways to kind of make sure you're managing well. And she's always concerned about me and asking how I was doing. And I'm perfectly fine. Also, I'm very lucky. But Pat was always, we shared that bond together. And then I was always inspired by her. She, a handful of years ago, after her 2019 election, sent me a little note just to say thank you. And I'm sure she sent hundreds of those notes out, but it's just such it made you, she had that connection with people. She's just such a class act like that. I was reading a paper from 1991 when she was Mayor Perush, and it was talking about how she was winding down, and she has just finished law school, and she was clerking for Oakland County, and asked, why'd you go to law school? And the answer was, my civic service won't last forever. I got to figure out something else to do. Well, that was 30 some years ago, and she definitely put in a lot more work after that. We had a wonderful opportunity 2 weeks ago to share so many fond memories of Pat, and I think we're all just incredibly lucky that we're able to share that, and she heard it, and I know she appreciated it so much. So much was said then, and I'm always gonna be left with the fact that Pat was always right. I even when she wasn't, she was. There's just no way around it. But beyond that, like Melanie said 2 weeks ago, she was the best of us. Pat always had such a concise view on the world and how to do things the right way. So if any of us can do stuff a fraction of the way she did, we're going to be lucky. So I'm blessed to have had these handful of years with her. This city is beyond lucky to have had her for the better part of a quarter century. So we're just amazingly lucky, and My God, will she be missed.
I'd like to take a moment to read while we're giving our memories. There are a few former commissioners and mayors that also left some fond memories of Pat, and so I want to give some light that clearly she touched everybody in this community, whether you know it or not, directly or indirectly. She made a positive difference in your life, and I think it's especially good to hear from people that, not just the folks up here that served with her, but also from others that served with her in the past in many different capacities. This one's from Jerry Boylan. Local government and politics are very personal, and emotions can run high as decisions impact residents directly, meaning it's inevitable city commissioners are going to tick off close to half the residents on any given issue. It's not for the weak of heart or stomach. Yet Pat not only signed up for over a decade of service as commissioner and mayor, but she also came back for more later in life. The true testament of Pat's legacy is she never lost an election, and even if you disagreed with her, it was hard not to respect her. That's extraordinary, particularly in today's ugly political environment. I met Pat in 1981 at an orientation for new Royal Oak City Commissioners. I somehow managed to win an election for a 2-year commission seat, and while I appeared highly confident, it was fake bravado. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And then I met Pat. We were both young, but she had a pre-natural calm about her that gave her gravitas beyond her years. Pat became a mentor, an ally, and a valued true friend in a very short time that resulted in a wonderful roller coaster ride of local politics for the next 2 years. Without Pat's wise counsel, it's likely I would have spontaneously combusted more than once. I'll always be grateful for that. And I wasn't alone. She counseled a few generations of local Poles. We all know Pat was smart as hell, a gifted leader, a master strategist, and a calm voice of reason. Yet I remember her sense of humor as most valuable trait. I sat next to Pat at the commission table, and on the most opportune or inopportune times, she would slip me a note, resulting in my barely stifled guffaw. One particular note said only Clariol number 5, an inside joke that made me snort my tea through my nose and slip off my chair, which made her unable to contain her laughter. That's how I know I'm going to remember Pat, laughing and smiling, knowing that while our work was important, perspective was everything. I'm going to miss Pat Perush, a brilliant human being.
Sitting next to her, I kind of test that she did that happened a lot.
This one's from Marie Donegan, former city commissioner, former state rep. When I was appointed to fill the vacant city commission seat in 2017, I was seated right next to Pat Perush. What a blessing. She was my guiding star. I talked to her before every meeting because of her counsel, her sage advice, and her common sense. I don't think anyone made a move on the city commission without getting some sort of reaction from Pat first. I met her when she was the mayor. She came to our church, St. John's Episcopal, to meet with our parishioners for civic Q&A session. Her public service got better from there. Pat's death is a tremendous loss for Royal Oak, but we are so much better as a community because she was here. I will never forget her. Dave Richards, also a former city commissioner. I was privileged to be a friend of Pat Perush for over 40 years and a colleague for 8 years on the Royal Oak City Commission. Pat was a force of nature despite her quiet demeanor and unassuming personality, or maybe because of those traits. With thorough preparation and direct explanation of her point of view, she showed respect for both her colleagues and the Royal Oak community she represented while being a principal voice in the progress of the city. There was never any doubt that whatever she supported was well thought out and something she believed was in the best interest of Royal Oak. When a difficult issue came before her, she did not back down, but would deal with that issue and do whatever was necessary to resolve it. The result has been a Royal Oak that we cherish and enjoy. As others have observed, Pat was the rare person who received the respect of many of those who did not agree with her on a particular policy or even her general governing philosophy. Personally, her private life was no different. What you saw is what you got. She and Day raised 2 wonderful daughters while pursuing high-level legal careers. The loss of Pat Perush is a great loss to her family, to myself, to my wife Janet, and a tremendous loss to the city of Royal Oak. This one's from Jim Ellison, former mayor. Pat was my first mentor from the City Commission when I first joined the commission in 1991. It was her guidance in these early days that set my philosophy on my style of governing. A strong understanding of governmental functions and a positive demeanor that allowed discourse to be mostly civil. She was a tremendous asset to the city in her long-time involvement with the city. She possesses a strong grasp of history, where we have come from, and a vision of where we could be heading. I can't say enough about her value to the city of Royal Oak and its residents and business people. Dennis Cowan, former mayor. Integrity, commitment to community, family, these are the hallmarks of Pat Perush's life. Royal Oak is better because of her service. May she rest in peace. And Dave Polton, former city commissioner. When I reflect on a word that most accurately describes Pat Perush, it is passion. What else could it be to drive a person to dedicate so much time and effort to make Royal Oak such a wonderful community? The City Commission, various boards, committees, clubs, and organizations were all benefactors of her tireless energy, devotion, and hard work. In her roles as both mayor and city commissioner, Pat was essential in reshaping our city to one of the most desired in the state. Although a lot can be said about Pat's service, what got my attention on a personal level was how she treated everyone with genuine humbleness and kindness. It is a notable trait that Pat uniquely possessed, for which she will be remembered. God bless Pat, her family, and all that she accomplished for Royal Oak. And those were the ones that were submitted by tonight. Everybody has a story about Pat that fits the vein of just those simple remarks offered up by colleagues that she served with. Commissioner Dubut.
All right, Mayor, I'll give it a try. I tried to speak from the heart last week, and that didn't go well. So I will read my thoughts to the best of my ability. So I've had the privilege of serving with Pat on this commission for most of the last decade. And she was, really everything a leader should be. She was compassionate and open-minded and visionary and incomparably knowledgeable. I feel like every time we discuss an issue in detail, I learned from her, and it made me better here at the table. She was tenacious and humble and principled and values-driven, and she had unquestionable integrity and, yes, an easy sense of humor, and could make us laugh at times when things were really challenging. And one of the things that I love most about her is that while she, yes, was absolutely one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life, and she was always happy to take time to answer questions and share her knowledge and perspective with those seeking to understand a decision at the table or the workings of the city in earnest, she did not suffer fools. And we had to deal with our fair share together over the years, and she never hesitated to passionately, albeit respectfully, speak truth in the face of what was sometimes wild opposition to it. And I think I'll remember her the most for that we often let Pat do that heavy lifting when it was time to explain to people, these are the facts of this situation. This is why everything you are spreading is untrue. And she did it with such eloquence and grace and undeniable respectability that it really, really powered through and left a permanent impact. And that's why Pat is one of the reasons of so many amazing accomplishments we've achieved as a city over the last 10 years. Very little of it would have happened if she weren't here at the table with us. So I've learned so much from her, and I'm forever grateful for her mentorship and her friendship, and her time here made us better. Her lifetime of commitment and service to our community has helped make Royal Oak everything that it is today, and her impact will be felt for generations. So I'm honored to have served here next to her.
Commissioner Douglas.
This is my last email to Pat. Subject, time to take a victory lap. By my calculation, you have governed in this city on and off for close to half of its life. Look at what you did. You pioneered the tax increment financing that took Royal Oak from shoot a cannon down Main Street to an entertainment district that cities across Michigan regard with envy. You made the decisions that build a new civic center and establish plans for sustainability and our seniors. You led the team that created an urban park that, well, we're back to that urban envy thing now. Well done. I so value the wisdom you've shared with me during our tenure together on the City Commission. When I needed advice on a political matter, you were my first phone call. I went to you when I needed to be talked out of jumping off a cliff. Sometimes you talked me down, but sometimes you told me to jump. I suspect you enjoyed that. You were a grounding force on the City Commission. There were so many times when commissioners would flail about discussing the motion, then you would calmly, succinctly make your case, and the rest of us would go, all right, we'll do it Pat's way. You were our historian, inspiration for the drinking game whenever you reminded us of things past. We sat in your living room or on your patio strategizing campaigns. We won the public safety millage, saved the War Memorial, and created Centennial Commons. We made some good trouble, didn't we? So take that victory lap. Once more around the track, cross the finish line, and then it's on to your next challenge.
Commissioner Macy.
Thank you. So I think what we're all saying about Pat here today, is she had that quality that your parent has when you're a little kid, where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but there's somebody here who does, and she's going to take me by my hand, and she's going to do it right. And having that person up here at the table and head of the city is so important, and it feels a little bit like the rug was pulled out from under us, that it was gone so fast. So we did all know she wasn't running for re-election, so she wasn't going to be up here come November, but I'm pretty sure that all of us sitting up here were relying on the ability to call her and ask the same questions we've always asked and get the advice about whether or not we should jump and what we should do and hear those reasoned explanations. If you watch these city commission meetings, you've heard them. We'll all be sitting up here flailing, and Pat has an absolutely full explanation from the historical view to right now of where we've been and where we should be going. And she can lay it out so that everyone understands. If you're on Facebook, you've seen it there too. She goes and explains the issues that are confounding residents in a way that everyone can understand, and she's quite persuasive. It's hard to believe, as the mayor said at the beginning, because it happened very fast. So I think that's part of what we're feeling up here today is just the speed with which we lost something that was a foundation for us up here. But it was amazing. 2 weeks ago, we named a park Perouge Park. That's WROK Park is now Perouge Park. And the next day, we all together went to visit Pat and to talk about the park and about the meeting. And I think I can't remember who said it, but it was she was Pat in good spirits and talking to us about everything that near and far, past and future. And it's just unbelievable when we hear from all these people who've dealt with her, from us up here. Every time I've been gone out this last week, someone has asked me about Pat, which has been great. And it's her impact throughout the city. It's not just the things that she did at this table, the things that we all do together, the way that she touched and connected to people. And she was an example for all of us in the way that she entered politics, the way that she cared about her community, and the way she just lived her life. She was a really good person, and she was a loving and supportive partner to her husband. She was a loving and supportive mother to her children and her grandchildren. And she was at every city event. She did all of the things, but she also was the one who would say, not today, I'm watching my granddaughter. She was the complete person. She was who you want to be up here as a leader, someone who loves her family and loves her community and is so smart that you know she's going to do the right thing. So you'll have to give us a little bit of grace because it's hard for this body to think about how it's going to function without that pillar that we are all used to relying on here. And that's the legacy I think that Pat is leaving, is that not just that she's touched all of the things that we've done in this city, but that she's touched all of us. She's touched the community in so many ways. And if you could map out the web of Pat's connections, it would be all over this room and all over the city. It would be something to see. And that's what I hope will continue to pull us together even when she's not here. And I hope that we will be able to see and honor her family in the future as well. And I absolutely agree with Commissioner Dubuck. It was an honor to be here with her, to have learned from her, and to carry on as best we can.
Commissioner Hunt.
So ditto to everyone else set up here. I mean, we all know that Pat was a pillar of this community. I knew of her before I actually got to know her. I first met Pat when I was appointed, and I think she was probably one of the first ones to call me, and we had a very nice, very long conversation. But I actually got the true chance to talk to Pat one-on-one as not only just commissioners, but as women, as attorneys, as professionals at a conference that we had last year. And she mentioned that she was interested in, or a big part of the Royal Oak Symphony Orchestra, and I mentioned that in high school I played violin. And pretty much once a month after that, she would reach out to me and say, have you started taking lessons yet so that you can be a part of the symphony orchestra? But she was one that would constantly try to help people grow. I mean, we grew up here as commissioners with her, but she was someone who made me want to be a better person, made me want to be a better commissioner and a better attorney. And she's no longer up here with us, but that's something that remains with me. I mean, I have my grandmother that's always in my heart. Pat is right there with her. I mean, that's what she brought to all of us, that she was family. She wasn't just a colleague, she was family to us. And in 2 years, she became that to me. And I am just constantly keeping Dave and her girls in my heart, because I can't imagine.
I want to thank Commissioner Douglas for about 10 years ago when we had a vacancy up here on the board. She went and talked to Pat, brokered a deal, and Pat agreed to stay on for, I'll finish out this term, that's fine. I'll help you guys out. I don't mind coming in out of retirement and, just get your stuff straight and find someone else to fill this role. And I think Commissioner DeBuck said it, that was probably the most important and productive decision we ever made as a body at that time, was unanimously voting Pat to come in and fill a seat. And her being a former mayor and me being the current mayor, clearly, you'd think there'd always be an opportunity for, well, I would have done it this way, or I would do it this way. Pat was never like that, never that type of person. She always picked up the phone, and trust me, I called her a lot. And I still hear her voice saying, so here's the deal. And she would walk through issues and give perspective and help shape my psyche before coming into a meeting. We've had a lot of important decisions that we've had to make as a community here. We've been growing. We've been doing a lot of things that cities have to do to be vibrant, to be viable. And Pat was on the cutting and leading edge of a lot of it. And her ideas were very contemporary and progressive for the day. And she was always willing to pick up the phone when I called walk me through things. And I remember one occasion, I got to be careful because it was closed session. But there was a potential development deal or some interest that the city would have on a property. And, we're talking about, okay, this might work out for the city. This might help solve some issues. We can work on helping out an old abandoned site and figure out some rebirth for it. And we're all talking and being, the naive visionary people that we were at the time. And Pat's just in the corner kind of snickering. And she went through and she found a certain chemical. For those of you who don't know, she was an environmental attorney as her vocation. And she found this chemical that I can't even pronounce. I barely can speak the English language most times, and it is my native language. But she called this chemical out and she said, guys, we're not touching this with a 10-foot pole. This is a bad idea. Stay far, 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 far away from it. And there were small things like that constantly that Pat could bring to the table with her acumen and her expertise or her historical perspective. But she was also very good helping not just consult us, but even for me on big issues that we knew we were going to have a full house in city chambers. We knew that whatever decision we made, somebody's going to walk away upset. And those are the toughest decisions for us, because everyone thinks up here decisions are, 100 binary, 0, 1, yes, no. But sometimes it's 51%, in our brain, and 49, because we see both sides. And Pat was very good at, with her experience and just her fact-based approach and her genuine caring approach to say, and organize whether you voted with her or not, she would organize everything in a framework that we could actually make productive decisions. And that is going to be something that is going to be a huge loss for our community in terms of her service. Pat's approach that I've tried to model as mayor, which I could never live up to, is the great exercise of patience. She never had an axe to grind. She only had a pencil to sharpen. So when things got tough, she went back and came back with a tremendous amount of research. I remember one time I was opining about Woodward Avenue and why are the lots designed like this? What in the heck happened? And Pat's like, oh, I got some stuff on that. The very next week, she came in with how Woodward had been zoned, documents from the 1920s that she had found and put together, and said, okay, this is why we have the problems on Woodward. And I'm like, nobody has ever presented that, ever. And Pat, within, I'm not sure how long it took her to put it together, but, a simple question that we had, she went and did it, took on the initiative, and, provided something very, very valuable that helped answer a perplexing question of, what we were looking at the time. She was the commissioner, and with no disrespect to my fellow commissioners up here, that you could absolutely trust to put on a topic, go out, get it done right, and come back and have something that the community would rally around. Examples I can give, Centennial Commons. She raised her hand right here at this table and said, I got it. I'm going to take this one. We're going to figure it out. It's really complex. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of, you got the development, you got everybody wants something different out of the park. I'm going to volunteer to help bird dog that project from this table. And she did an absolutely exceptional job. And I think, there were some struggles with it for sure that we won't talk about, that were mostly fabricated. But she, in the end, found a way forward to bring in so many voices in that process to help create what's a world-class park that will be remembered for and be here for such a long time. We put her on stormwater management after 2014. I didn't say we put her on, she volunteered. She's like, I got a lot of ideas, and I have a lot of legal background on this. Let me see what I can do. And she has made significant strides since then to put our city in a position where we've been, I mean, it took 100 years to build the infrastructure here. It's not going to take 100 days to fix. But we have the plans in place now to mitigate stormwater, I think, above and beyond our peers in ways that are really innovative, in ways that are leveraging state statutes and legalities, but also what we're doing from a physical point of view to help manage this ever-increasing problem. And so I'll remember, at least here at this table, Pat being the steady foundation of this commission, the 10 years that she was here, the leader, the person always having the answer and always being able to help resolve any sort of conflict, even if it was among commissioners or even if it was with the community. She was very, very gifted in this regard. I also remember the time where I think Kyle, might have been you and I having a beer with her, trying to convince her after we appointed her, we're like, Pat, you should run again. And the energy we saw from her, she said, you know what, it's been a while, but I'm having so much fun up there. You guys are we have the opportunity to make some meaningful changes. I just don't want to fill in. Let's go do this. I'm going to run. And even for her second tour of service to Royal Oak, she was so motivated and so excited, and that energy just like lifted us out of the seat at the time. Like, yeah, let's go. What do we have to do? Let's support you in any way that we can. Just remarkable in almost every aspect. A true example of what it means to be a public servant. I had a friend I read, and he said, after a tragedy in his life, that Pat lived from 1950 to dash 2023. What do you do with that dash? What do you make of that dash? And in Pat's lifetime, she raised a remarkable family, was an incredible spouse to her husband, and she was a public servant for decades on a couple different tours. She advanced this city in more ways that we can count. You've heard a lot of it here tonight. And not just in the physical things that we see or the progress that we've seen, but in everything that makes us who we are in terms of our sense of welcomeness, our kindness, our desire to solve problems the right way. Her mark will be here for a very, 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 very long time in this city, and we are so grateful for her dash and for everything that she leaves us. And our job now is to carry that torch forward as best we can, but in no way like she could. There will be, and I want to make sure everybody is aware, we're going to have an opportunity to more formally memorialize Commissioner Perush. On Thursday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Until the time of the memorial, there will be a visitation service at the Royal Oak Farmers Market, which is right here. And the memorial will take place at 11 a.m. The arrangements are going to be with William Sullivan and Son Funeral Home. Pat is also and her family requested, if you're considering any sort of flowers or contributions or anything, that their family's desire and her desire were to the Royal Oak Symphony Orchestra and the Royal Oak Civic Foundation, which were two causes that she was passionate about. And I hope to see you all there at the memorial. I think we all owe Pat a tremendous amount of gratitude. And this will be a good opportunity for the community to, say goodbye to Pat, but also show how much she meant to us and let her family know how much she meant to us. So, I'm not sure if anybody else has anything else they want to share tonight. It's very challenging indeed. Okay, and I appreciate everybody's willingness to hear us talk about Pat. And I think I look out here and I see probably many of you know her and know of her and probably met her in your lifetime as well. It's a true loss for the city, and it's a true loss for each of us up here. We lost a good friend. And so we appreciate your patience and understanding as we try to move on. And Pat, if you're listening, you can hear us. We love you. We miss you. We're not going to forget you. And we appreciate everything you instilled in us. Thank you. If you guys don't mind, we're going to take about a 2-minute recess, if that's okay. Well, it might help, but also these lights seem to be bright. Yeah. All right, we appreciate everybody sticking around and granting us a few moments to collect ourselves. So I'm going to call the meeting back to order, which brings us back to item 7, which is the approval of the agenda. I'll ask for two things. Whoever makes the motion, we had some recommendations from council in closed session, as well as we have Senator Chang here that I think we can add to the agenda right after the approval of the agenda to provide us some important updates about what's going on in Lansing. We're grateful for her presence here tonight. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the agenda, amending it to add Senator Chang directly after item 7, and then adding item 14 to discuss advice of counsel from closed session.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubuck. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We have an agenda established. All right, this brings us to number 8 tonight, which is the time set aside for public comment. Just a few remarks.
Nope, 7A.
Oh, 7A, I forgot. Senator Chang, I'm a little bit out of sorts tonight, if you can bear with me. My apologies.
Well, good evening. Is this working? I think so. First of all, condolences to all of you. Thank you so much for sharing.
It's not working.
You just turned it off.
I pressed it?
No.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is better. So great, very good. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, and to all the Royal Oak residents that are here today. First, wanted to just express my condolences and thank you for sharing such incredible memories, and just what a very moving tribute. So, thank you for that. So I wanted to come and just briefly say hello and share a couple of updates. I think I probably chose the best council meeting to come to, one to hear this moving tribute. Also, there's a leprechaun, and there's going to be talk about environmental legislation, so perfect fit. Really happy to be here. Some of you may know I serve a really interesting district that does include one precinct in Royal Oak, the very northeast precinct, precinct 19, and so I am really glad to be here. Really want to do a couple things. One, to remind folks that I'm here, and to please definitely feel free to reach out if there's ever anything that I can do to be of service. And then 2, just to share very brief updates, since I know you've got a lot to cover today. 1, the legislature, as you know, we are on a summer recess, but before we broke for the summer, we did do a lot of good things. I'll just highlight a couple quick things that we did in June. 1, as your clerk is probably very, very aware, we spent a good amount of time working on updates to our election law to make sure that we have election laws that match what voters approved in November with Proposal 2. So thank you for all the great work and input from so many groups, and the clerks especially. So for the residents here, they may or may not be aware, but we're going to have early voting. We're going to have a lot of drop boxes. We're going to have an expanded set of voter ID that can be accepted, including, and that was actually the bill that I had in the package, including municipal ID, which doesn't apply to Royal Oak, but very important, as well as all forms of student ID, and a number of other really, really important changes. So excited about those changes that we were able to pass into law. The other thing you're going to be hearing a lot more of later on today, but we did introduce a great package of bills related to climate action, which I think we are all very acutely aware of due to all of the storms and the heat and the flooding and all of the things that we know are not going away until we take bold action. So very proud to be a supporter and co-sponsor on the climate package that will increase our renewable energy standard, ensure greater energy efficiency, give our Public Service Commission greater tools to hold our utilities accountable, and much, much more. So you're going to hear a lot more about that, and I'm excited that you all are taking up a really important resolution on that topic. So great timing. And then 2 other things that I wanted to just briefly mention. one of the things that I've worked on for about 5 years now, and I'm excited that this is the year, hopefully, when we can actually get it done, is work on legislation around protecting domestic violence survivors. Very soon, we'll be reintroducing legislation that's about ensuring that those who are convicted of misdemeanor domestic violence are prohibited from having, purchasing, selling, etc., a gun for a period of 8 years. There is already a federal law related to this, but it's really, really important that we give our local law enforcement and prosecutors a tool at the state level. So I'm really excited about the momentum that we've built on that issue. We will soon be introducing that legislation, and we believe that we have a lot of momentum and support, and we're eager to see that through. The fourth thing that I'll mention really briefly that Commissioner Dubak is very aware of is that for about 8 years now, I've been working on water affordability. And this is an issue that continues to touch the lives of so many Michiganders. We know from the pandemic how important it is to have access to drinking water and water to wash your hands. And, you know, we've taken some important steps as a state, as a country, to begin to address this issue. But at the state, there's so much more that we can do. So I'm very excited that over the past 6 months in particular, we've brought together water providers, environmental advocates, water advocates, MML, SEMCOG, and a lot of organizations that I'm forgetting right now, United Way, community action agencies, to actually build out a really comprehensive solution around water affordability. So stay tuned. The work is ongoing, but we hope to introduce that legislation in the coming weeks, and I think we'll make a really, really big impact. So I'm very excited about that. For those who are watching or here in the room, please feel free to contact us. My office district phone number is 313-922-6949. And then our website is senatorstephaniechang.com. I also have a couple of things that I'll figure out. I'll probably place them near the front if folks want to grab them on the way out. One is just a little survey and our contact information, and then my latest newsletter, which is about the environment. So again, perfect timing. Thank you for your public service. The work that you all do at the city level is so, so important. And I'm really inspired just hearing all of the memories that you've shared about your colleague, and also really inspired by all the great work that you have continued to do. So don't hesitate to reach out. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chang.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Senator Chang as well as the mayor. She has made herself available. You see her a lot in Royal Oak, and she's been a kind ear to some of my concerns and this commission's concerns, and she's also been a strong voice in Lansing for us. So glad to see you here, and always seeing you in our community, and always picking up the phone and always having a good chat. So we're very grateful for your service to our community, Senator Chang.
And she has an RO lapel pin.
She does.
She's advocating for us.
You have the RO lapel pin.
I do, yeah.
And as Commissioner Colo would know, that you probably have one more than I do most of the time, because I somehow shift pockets and find them in different areas. There's a treasure trove in my closet somewhere in my house if one day someone's going to find.
I need one of my 5 back, please.
So we're going to move into public comment now. Just a few quick remarks before we start public comment. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any related topic or unrelated topic, whether it's on the agenda or not. I ask that comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. In addition to the public comment, there will be a public hearing at tonight's meeting. If you're here to comment on the public hearing on the necessity special assessment paving of Massoy Road, you can wait till that time to give your public comment and enter it into the record with the hearing. If you wish to speak tonight at either public comment or regarding the public hearing, please wait till you're recognized by me, the mayor, then come up to the podium. For the record, we'll ask you to state your name and address. Please be mindful that the City Commission wants to hear from anyone who wishes to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, not per topic. with the exception of the public hearing, which if you speak at public comment about something in general, and then you want to speak at the public hearing about the paving, you can speak twice, no problem. And there's a timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, no problem. There are other ways to reach out to us, like email, at the grocery store, walking our dogs. We're here to serve, so whenever you find an appropriate time to reach out to us, please don't hesitate. Please note that we typically don't respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes and we'll address those questions when the topic is discussed. If the topic isn't on the agenda, we are taking notes, and the city manager is also taking notes, and will follow up appropriately and as needed. So with that, who's first? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Sherry A. Wells. I live at 215 West Troy in Ferndale. And I'm here on behalf of a friend and sometimes client who has been a 12-year resident of Royal Oak. I have... Where's the button?
Thank you.
Do I need to repeat
Chief,
that?
she's not being disorderly. Okay.
I say a full-service police department right there.
Pardon me?
It's a full-service police department right there.
Well, public service, all right. The resident I'm representing is Linda Manning Myatt. She's lived in Royal Oak for 12 years. She told me recently that she, instead of an $85.50 water bill, and I have copies of those from December and March, she had a visit from one of the DPW people, which is to his credit, because he came out before she got the last bill because it was so high. Instead of $85.50, it was going to be $2,073.85. He came out to warn her of this high bill, and she asked him to look at the meters. He said the meter in the basement was not moving. And so she had no time after this, before the bill came out, to get any repairs done because she didn't expect this bill to be that high. She has since then had two of us friends read the meter because she can't make it down the basement steps. And instead of 155 hectocubic feet, it's only been 2 hectocubic feet in the last 43 days. So there is definitely a problem somewhere. One of the things she saw on Nextdoor is someone said that they saw construction people making use of a resident's outdoor faucet, and there was construction on her street. And so that may be where some of that water came and went from. She heard no signs in her house that there was any kind of leak or water usage. And we would certainly like to have this looked into.
Okay, thank you very much. I think City Manager has got the notes. Thank you. If you just want to hand those to the City Clerk, she can pass them down to us, maybe. Thank you, Ms. Sabos. Yes, sir.
What? Can you hear me?
Oh,
Don't touch it.
Turn it off.
now we can hear you. Green means go.
All right. My name is Bob Sullivan. I'm at 1996 Seabright Court, Royal Oak. I was here originally to talk about the parks. Mr. Mayor, I sent you a letter a few years back. My granddaughter at the time was 6 years old, and we visited all 50 parks at the time. There are 51 now. And I sent you an email as well as Commissioner Perush. The parks are Royal Oak parks through the eyes of a 6-year-old. There's so much I can talk about that, but I have something else to say about Commissioner Perush. I had the great fortune of meeting Commissioner Perush at opening day in 1993 when it was the Royal Oak Baseball Federation. And I believe it was her last year as mayor. And she couldn't have been more kind. I had my 3 children with me at the time were 10, 7, and 4. And she cared more about them, which I thought was awesome, because what I had to say wasn't half as great as what they had to say. And she was so kind. And here, I have the yearbook from 1994. when she was mayor, and there's she's in here like the first 10 pages. There's quite a few photos in here. So if I can.
Yeah, please, Mr. Sullivan.
Do
Yeah, if we give it to the clerk, she can bring it down this way. Yeah.
But I'd like to thank you guys for all your tributes to her. You know, were spot on. You know, I would say it in fewer words. Commissioner Perush was a gem. I mean, anytime you talk to her, when I sent her an email about, visiting the parks, she thought that was so awesome. And for all of you that have children or grandchildren, visit the parks. We have some gems here. And when we went to different parks, so many people outside the city, there were people from Warren, met people from Chicago. We're talking about our parks. And I mean, I would like to have it sometime to have a subject on that longer than 3 minutes, because I can't say anything fast in 3 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Really appreciate it. The gentleman in the blue polo. Yes. Yeah. Did you refer to yourself as third person, this guy? Awesome. Love it. That's what I would do.
Do you mind if I give these handouts to the city clerk?
Yep.
Commissioners, my name is Chris Ott. I live at 1305 Ann Drive in Royal Oak. I'm here tonight I'm the petitioner for a Citizens Traffic Committee items 6B and 6C, which come up tonight on item 11. So on your printouts that you'll get in a second, you're going to see a map on the first page and a couple notes you can refer to on the later pages and pictures when this item comes up. The ask that I have for you all tonight is pretty simple. For item 6B, we'd like to add signpost reflectors to the 7 stop signs on or bordering the former truck route to increase awareness and visibility of these stop signs, all of which abut a crosswalk, so we think it'll improve pedestrian safety and help drivers see these signs at night. I personally think the signpost reflectors are great. As you can see on the second page, it's a relatively simple way to let drivers know and draw their attention to the traffic sign at hand. The signpost reflector carries the same color, the sign down the post. So again, it just makes it easier to see. So again, those examples are also included on that second page, and then the requested stop signs are also shown there on the latter pages. So it is noted that 3 of those stop signs are actually about 20 years old, so I was hoping Engineer Donahue was here tonight so we get a laugh about that, because those are always kind of goofy. So hopefully those can get replaced as well. I'll keep my comments relatively brief. Again, just asking the commission to consider amending item 6B tonight with those 7 stop signs under consideration, to add those signpost reflectors to those, and to accept the staff recommendation on item 6C. Thank you very much for your time. And
Thank you.
I appreciate the sentiments about the former commissioner. I didn't get the chance to meet her or know her, but I was looking forward to being a part of that journey of discovering who she was, and unfortunately that time was cut short, but I'll make sure to put that on my list of things to do with, discovering who she was and what she represented. So, sorry for all your loss.
Thank you for those kind words. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. My name is Sue Gilbert. I live at 1219 Irving. I'm a neighbor to Mr. Ott and Mr. Thompson, who's also going to speak tonight in support of item 11. Just that continued development that I've seen in the last 25 years in the South End will only be enhanced by the continued enhancements to the signage, reminding everybody that comes into the neighborhood from that access point off the service drive that they're in a neighborhood and that they're near a park and that they're near pedestrians and families, and we want them to drive and behave and be aware as if they were in their own neighborhoods. Anything we can do to continue to enhance that safety, put that visual reminder in place, and remind people that they're in a neighborhood and that they're entering a space that's very important to everybody and should be important to them as well. Thank you very much, and my condolences as well.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. Who's next? Mr. Sackett.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'll give you those video guys from our quick Royal Oak Leprechaun summer season. Mark Sackett, General Manager, Royal Oak Leprechauns. Appreciate you taking the time, and condolences also for Commissioner Perush. I think there's a Reddit quote about her saying business over residence, and she never chose business over residence or residence over business. She was about the community. So I thought it was a good segue for what we're doing at Memorial Park as a nonprofit corporation, and trying to bring people here and share and build for the community. Real quick recap of our Leprechaun season. We started off with bringing in high school teams from Country Day to Oxford, which was a great first game where Country Day won on a walk-off double. And then Birmingham Groves and Birmingham Seahome played at Memorial Park, and that was a 2-1 rain to shorten game, but it was a great fight there. We saw Rochester College bring in U of M, Dearborn, Cornerstone University, Cleary University, and even Concordia University. So the field, the park, it's really getting noticed. It's filling up. I would think that Mr. Videlli will tell you that the numbers of these rentals are going crazy over there, which is great to see. The field is great. Our Leprechaun season allowed us to squeeze in 26 home games from early June to late July. This year we opened the park to allow the ROSL to play during our games in one of the youth fields. And that seemed to work pretty well, allowing them to play more games there as well. Overall, our attendance and our sales were up this season. Our kids club grew. Our name became more recognizable in the community. Our first 3 games of the year, we had a ton of elementary kids there. We had over 1,500 kids show up in 3 days, and that park was packed, and those kids were screaming, and the teachers loved it because they weren't in their classroom with them. So it was a great kickoff to our season. It was great seeing all these kids, and they're all wearing their leprechaun shirts with it, the Royal Oak Leprechaun shirts, which was great. Last week, we met with the president and founder of a higher level league. It's called the Northwoods League. That league is it's a higher level league. It's a step below minor league baseball. They really liked what we are doing at Memorial Park. The Northwoods League has games on ESPN Plus and ESPNU. They bring kids in from all over the country. The Northwoods League is a league that hosts the Traverse City Pittsbitters, what we're most familiar with. Kalamazoo Growlers, Battle Creek Battle Cats. So that's the league we're looking to jump into. If we did that, we'd have 36 home games. Again, we'd be bringing a lot more activity to that park. So we're hoping to do that. It would be amazing for the Leprechauns. It would be amazing for this community to see some real, go them over with there, huh? The only thing that's holding us back is our facilities, and we just need to try to get some improvement to some facilities, and some people are going to be talking about that. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett. Ms. Andrews.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Andrews. I live at 1202 Hickory Avenue in Royal Oak. And I'm standing here as the recently selected chair of the Royal Oak Human Rights Commission. Today you are going to be receiving and hearing about what we've been up to this year. It's been slow as we had to write, stuff. But we're very excited to get moving now. We have a lot of ideas, a lot of plans, and we really look forward to working with all of you as we move forward to make this community a welcoming community to everybody. I also want to say I give my condolences to you for the loss of Pat. I strongly believe we wouldn't have a Human Rights Commission if we hadn't had Pat. She had a deep influence on Lisa Mason, Lynn Muth, and I as we were working with you guys to get that going. And I feel a deep sadness for her loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Yes, sir.
Evening, Patrick McGee, 4524 Elmhurst Avenue. As many of you may or may not know, I'm very vocal in letting you guys know what I think, and I've done that with Pat in the past. And I just wanted to share one thing about my many emails to her. When we were trying to prevent the paving of parking spots in Delamere, she emailed me back and said, Mr. McGee, you're absolutely right. And I love that email because she pointed out all these facts about Delamere and how it was once green and then it was paved and now it go back to green. And so appreciate that. She was very kind and always took the time to email me even when we disagreed. So very nice. But what I'm up here to talk to you guys about tonight, Traffic Committee, item 1160. There's a no turn on red sign currently going from southbound Delamere on to westbound Normandy. I'd like that sign to be removed. This goes against what the Traffic Committee is recommending with you guys. My reasons for this is about a year ago you guys approved traffic calming as well as some other traffic mitigation stuff on Normandy to help lower the speed. And two, it's fitting with tonight's agenda topics, the environmental impact of removing this is pretty high. So in my professional job, I do a lot with fuel economy. And one of those things is you burn a lot of fuel just sitting around doing nothing. So if we can prevent that by getting the cars to turn right without having to sit at a light, it's better for the environment. It's about half as much CO2 reduction as you would get without that sign. So the key is get rid of that sign, reduce your CO2, reduce your formaldehyde, reduce your hydrocarbons. It's great for the environment. There's really no reason to have it there. There's no traffic, or excuse me, there's no pedestrian, there's no crosswalk there. So it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Appreciate it. I'll go with Mr. Fisher.
No jokes, don't worry. Extra 30 seconds for Pat, please.
I had the pleasure of meeting Pat. First time I met her was at Jim Razor's house at a party. I was standing with her and Jim Ellison, and I remember sharing a joke about there was an issue about having a bar within 500 feet of a church or a school, and I said, I don't want churches or schools within 500 feet of a bar. Okay. Right off the top, all Royal Oak residents should have free admission to Arts, Beats, and Eats. I strongly feel that way. I don't think they'd be giving up that much revenue by allowing that. And I think it's fair for residents as far as loss of use and the effect of traffic it has on other people trying to get to work. It screws up rideshare demand, makes it expensive for people to get to work. Also, I don't really like the marijuana stuff either, even though I support its legalization. We have Hazel Park for that. Yeah, there's this guy, Tom Hayden. He was born here in 1939, December 11th, and he went on to do a lot of amazing stuff. He went to Shrine Elementary School, attended Shrine Church, went to Dondero, where he serves as editor of the paper in his outgoing address. He used the first letter of every paragraph to spell "Go to Hell." He was denied his graduation ceremony, but received a diploma anyway. He went on to serve as editor of the Michigan Daily, and then covered race issues for the National Student Press, where he was beaten by white mobs in Mississippi. I see you have the open carry issues part of your closed session, and I'm not that guy, don't worry. I don't want to be that guy, but I think it's stupid that I have to wear a wristband. I do. I think I should just be able to show my ID. And furthermore, I don't want any festival security impeding my route to my home under any condition. I don't want them touching me, laying their hands on me. I'd like to see the city prosecutor prosecute accordingly if that were to happen. If we want to put the power of law behind me just walking into where I live, then there should be police officers stationed at every entrance and exit to the festival for that very purpose. And yeah, I could have been like, no, I'm not wearing it, or, screw you. And I think about what would Tom do? Well, Tom would have probably turned the whole thing in the 1968 Democratic Convention, so I'm not going to do that. But I know the least Tom would have done is come up here and say something about it. So that's what I'm doing. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's an annoyance. I love Arts Beats and Eats. I got this sweatshirt at the very first Arts Beats and Eats that was in Royal Oak. And in the past few years, I've noticed it changed negatively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Well, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Commission, Manager Brake. Item 11, we're looking for more safety features on the former truck route. So my two neighbors are up here already. At the same time we're promoting walkability, the drivers are getting terrible. Since 2019, traffic deaths up 15%, bicycle fatalities up 26%, pedestrian fatalities up 18%, alcohol related fatalities up 22%. Michigan just passed the distracted driving on June 30th. We've got a lot of speeders on this truck route. We had engineer Donahue put out a report. So as Chief Moore knows, speeders are more likely to be intoxicated, more aggressive, and they practice poor driving habits. They're more likely to. So at the same time, traffic's getting worse, drivers are getting worse. We as a city, with our master plan, with where we're going, with our progressive principles, we're promoting more walking, jogging, bicycling, walking, strolling. And our area has a lot of great investment and a lot of more folks, a lot of kids, and multifamily, and the great park, of course. So what we need is the modernization of the old truck route. So almost nothing's been happening, or nothing's really physically changed with that route since I've been living there for 34 years. So we need to improve pedestrian safety, we need to calm the traffic, and we need more signage, more awareness for entering a residential area, combined single family and multifamily, with a flawed freeway system that has a loads and unloads on a road like Mohawk. So it's been a problem for years. So what we're doing now is we're trying to get calming and traffic safety for that piece. So that piece is the truck route in the yellow. We're looking, as Chris Odd and Sue talked about, we're looking for crosswalks with signage at these two locations, entering the residential area from where the dispensary is going to be, and then entering and leaving where the freeway is through our residential area. And then quickly, here's a little mock-up, but I've been studying crosswalks, often worn out, but then they disappear, often snow-covered. So what we have some of these, but you wouldn't know it. So what we're asking for is to do something like this. So give us the fluorescent and the big signs and really slow down the folks. So that's item number 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. All right. You know what? We're going to go right here in the middle. The man with the green hat on, and the yellow vest.
My name is Joe Tillman, 5244 Hale in Troy. And just before I started, I didn't know if you guys knew, if you all knew what the country that has the fastest growing capital in the world is Ireland. It's Dublin every day. Okay. As you might guess, I'm here to talk about the Leprechaun team. Mark Sackett already talked to you about the new program that hopefully they're going to have there. I come to the games I have been coming to the games the last 3 years off and on. I do happen to wear this. I love to lead cheers. I could lead you some cheers now, but I guess I'll wait for later. But what's fun about that program there, if you haven't been there, the ticket takers, the management, the concession people, the greeters, Mr. Sackett, everybody is very, very friendly and open. It's a very unique program. I myself have been an umpire for 46 years. I've never seen a program like this. I think you guys got something going for you. I bring friends of mine from Troy. I think you need to improve that program, and you will really go a lot of way. The seating needs improvement, more comfortable for old guys like me. Getting some handicap seating would be good. Getting rid of the bleachers. I mean, you've had the program for a while, and it's successful. You've had the facilities there. It's been good. You need to upgrade. Difficult to see through the fencing sometimes, the scoreboard. There needs to be a warning track out in the fields. As an umpire, I know that warning tracks can provide safety for outfielders. You could have a bad situation if somebody doesn't have a warning track going back to catch a fly ball. So the bathrooms also need to be improved. You just need to upgrade there. You've got a new program, new facility, new program, new league coming in. Upgrade your facility, and they will make it a new league. You make it a first class, something you can be proud of. Go Leprechauns.
Thank you very much. I like your tie, sir, by the way. Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Hello. I'm sorry about your friend and colleague, Mrs. Perush. My name is Jacqueline Mullich, and I live off Coolidge in Normandy, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Leprechaun upgrades. I'm able to walk to the Leprechauns games, and it's become a tradition to take my kids and my dad to several games each season. It's been so special to make these memories with my family. 40 years ago, my dad played softball at Memorial Park. Enjoying the games is nostalgic for him, and he's of course impressed with how the field's improved so far. A few upgrades to the field would make our experience that much better. The bathroom facility needs to be renovated. Improvements can be made to make it easier to take the kids to the bathroom. Viewing from the stands is tricky due to the fencing and the angles of the bleachers. Climbing into the stands and the tight space between rows made it difficult for my dad and I to comfortably sit for the game. Going to the Leprechauns games in Memorial Park in general is a huge part of my family's summer, and upgrades made to the field would benefit the community and the athletes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Before my 3 minutes start, I have some paperwork that I'd like to pass out.
Yeah, if you want to hand them to our city clerk, Clerk Hallis here.
I don't have enough copies for everybody. Is it okay to pass out what I have?
Yeah, she'll pass them down, and I'll share it with Commissioner Dubois.
Thank you.
Do you want to share? Yeah.
Okay, we'll get it.
All right. Hello, my name is Mike Seville. I live at 1105 Ottawa Road, Michigan. I would like the following statements and photos entered into public record. First photo shows the dump contamination at the southwest corners of Ferris Avenue and 1018 Genesee. The second and third photos show the proper cement washout station to contain cement during the washout, thereby preventing hazardous material from entering the environment. On 8/21/2023, the city of Roanoke was present during the pouring of the cement at 1105 Genesee Avenue at the northeast corner of Ferris and Genesee. There is evidence left behind. A cement contractor had discharged, cleaned, and dumped hazardous cement byproducts upon the dirt portion of Ferris Avenue. Obviously, there was no concern for the environment or the citizens of Royal Oak. Apparently, this had been done under the presence of the on-site supervisor for the city of Royal Oak. There was no effort made by the contractor or the city of Royal Oak supervisor to follow any type of containment procedure. This gross negligence resulted in endangering the environment and to the residents of Royal Oak. The dump site located at the southwest corner of Ferris and 1018 Genesee Avenue was not more than estimated 20 feet from a Royal Oak drain. This is the second violation. The first violation happened on July 25th, same location, which resulted in the physical insult by the employee who was employed by the city of Royal Oak. This action resulted in physical contact being made by the employee against the local residents. The dumping of cement on 8/21 at 1018 Genesee Avenue was followed by heavy rain on 8/23/2023 through 8/24/2023. This dump site location used by the cement company to clean their equipment is approximately 20 feet from the storm drain. I was hoping for the past emails to be sent to the Royal Oak City Manager and the engineering department would correct this and would result in a more favorable outcome. Please review the 20 and 12 and the 2023 Royal Oak Master Plans referring to sustainability and protecting the environment. Please refer to an article by the Royal Oak Tribune concerning the city of Royal Oak, Michigan by Mike Connolly from Royal Oak Tribune on May 14, 2023 at 6:05 a.m. In reference to that article, City Manager Paul Blake said Royal Oak's policies are dedicated to practicing the combat climate and changes and protecting the environment. This is really getting out of hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Siddall. We'll go back in the far corner in the green.
Hello, my name is Monica T. I'm actually a non-resident. My address is 22670 Maple Court in Hazel Park. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak here today. I'm coming to you on behalf of the fans and supporters of the Royal Oak Leprechauns, as most of us. I'm an associate broker with RE/MAX and do bookkeeping for multiple companies, including the Hazel Park Promise Zone and the Pontiac Promise Zone, and I'm on the Hazel Park School Board. With that being said, I've witnessed a lot of our teachers and community members come to Royal Oak for these games, so it's fun to see them who live in Royal Oak or even Troy, Oak Park, come with their families and make memories all summer long, which I do with my family. This field brings a lot of people together to build more relationships and better each other. I have 3 children, and we go every single year, almost every single game. We spend lots of money on Tanya's Pizza. We absolutely love being there, but as the lady before said, the bathrooms are awful. My daughters have learned how to turn the faucets so they don't keep draining after they're done. My dad is handicapped, and the stands are super hard, as it's been mentioned before. Some of the bleachers aren't even anchored down correctly. These are just a few items that I hope you can consider looking into. I know they've been mentioned before, but you said about your friend Pat, who I'm very sorry you lost, that she had a sense of welcomeness. And I believe that's what Mark has done to the Memorial Park. He has brought the community from everywhere together, and I just hope that we can look at these upgrades and make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Shane Brown. My address is 30544 Brentwood, Southfield. I just wanted to say condolences for your loss, but I'm here in support of the Leprechauns as well. Living on the border right there at Greenfield, my family spent a lot of time in Royal Oak, entertainment, dining. You know, as my kids have gotten older, we've availed ourselves of all of your parks. Now it's, you know, Memorial Park with the Leprechauns. There are a few things that do need to be upgraded. Electrical would be a big one, I would say. We were at a game this year where something blew and all of the electrical just went out, from the announcers to, you know, their warming stations, things like that for Tanya's Pizza. The backstop being chain link instead of, you know, the standard net that a lot of these leagues and other teams have. It's hard to see through. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. You've got to be either right up on it or far enough away that, you know, it does make it a little difficult to see. And then, as other people have mentioned, the bathrooms. The other thing that I would like to bring up is I'm on Beverly Hills Little League board. I'm their umpire director, so I've spoken to the umpires at these games, and one of their biggest complaints is where they have to change. If you're a baseball fan, you know that a good umpire, a happy umpire, can make the difference for not only the team, but the fans as well. You know, an unhappy umpire makes poor calls and nobody's happy. I would really like to urge you guys to look into the improvements that need to be made to get this league to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got a young man in the back corner. Yep, did you have your hand up? Yeah, and I'm just going to presume that you're under the age of 18?
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't have to give your name or address.
I mean, I'd give the name, but I wouldn't give my
You can give your
address.
first name.
My name is Colin, and as a bunch of other people have spoken, I am here with the support for the Royal Oak Leprechauns, and like everyone said, like there can be some changes that would be really good, like bathrooms. One time my parents took me and one of my friends there. We went to the bathroom and we saw some bugs in the toilet, in the urinals, and we were just really like freaked out because why would bugs be in there? And such as my father said back there, the electrical at the stadium that one time, it wasn't really pitch black, but it was kind of close. So we might need to try to find something that could like fix it or make it better. And yeah, like everyone else said, like the stands and the fence and everything, the stands could be better. They're decently fine now, but it could be a little better. And yeah, the fence, it's hard to see. I have to like move around a lot just to see the field in general. So yeah, that is all.
Well, thank you, Colin. Thank you for being a risk taker and being brave and coming up here and giving public comment. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening. My condolences as well to your friend and colleague. It's very, very heartfelt comments that you guys made. It was very, very impressive and, very lasting legacy. Very, very impressive. So, my name is Richard Kirstich, address 26355 Townley Street in Madison Heights. As a neighboring community, I spent a lot of time in Royal Oak and a big supporter of the Royal Oak Leprechauns. I think Mr. Sackler is doing a great job with the organization and wants to take it to the next level. Obviously, the improvements that everybody talked about is a big key, but I just want to talk about how it's such a great community event when he has games out there, those home games. I think he does a great job with the environment, the atmosphere. It's just a fun baseball game. You go down to a professional baseball game, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars or a lot of money on tickets and food and concessions and all that. It's a great value, great for the community, great environment, and the facilities. It's a nice facility. I've seen Memorial Park evolve over the years. Spent a lot of time there with coaching different sports and playing sports there myself over the years. And the field's beautiful, the turf's beautiful, but it does need some enhancements. The fencing, as far as the outfield fencing, you're allowed to talk about the fencing with the backstop and all that, but the outfield fencing is a big, could be improved upon. Good dimensions in the field for baseball players to be successful. Like to see the park improved. I think it would be a great thing for the community, great thing for the city, and I encourage you to support the Royal Oak Leprechauns. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the plan.
Hi, Justin Barnowski, 2525 North Connecticut, here in Royal Oak. I live in Royal Oak, I work in Royal Oak, enjoy the Leprechauns games, try to pitch it as much as possible to friends, relatives, pretty much anybody that we can get to kind of spread the word. And you've heard most of it already, just things we can do to the facilities, especially elderly, people with mobility issues, and then families with young children. Just basic improvements to the seating, the restroom that we've heard a couple times about. Just basically anything we can do to make this more enjoyable for pretty much everybody, and just, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Good evening. My name's Mindy Roberts. I'm a non-resident. My address 17488 Dunblane Avenue, Beverly Hills. I'm here on behalf of the Royal Oak Leprechauns as well. So as a resident of Beverly Hills, I often get to frequent the Leprechaun games at the Lucky Corner. Hopefully all of you have also. I am proud to say that I have known Mr. Mark Sackett for many years. He has not only been a mentor, coach, and friend to my son, but we as a family have grown to love him and watch him grow this organization. My son Griffin truly has fallen in love with the game of baseball. To me, there's really not a better gift to give a family than a close, friendly, and affordable night out with everyone together, and wow, we have it. We have it right here at the Lucky Corner. It's just miles from all of our homes. Well, Memorial Park really is a gift for all of us. To hear that the Leprechauns have been asked to join a new league is an incredible outcome. It's very positive. There's been a lot of individuals who have dedicated hours of sleepless nights to see this success so far. So ladies and gentlemen, here of the council, I ask you to please just sit back and think for a moment when a sport touched you and gave you a smile from ear to ear. We've all witnessed the incredible acts of achievement from athletes of all kinds. And I'll be honest, the last few weeks, I don't know if you watched it, but I've enjoyed watching the Little League World Series. Did you see El Segundo, California win? It was an incredible highlight. Maybe you should go back and take a look at it. From the combination of the kids' perseverance and the tough love the coaches have given them, I just really wish that series was not over, but it is. We know that we've got more baseball to watch. We've got MLB, and we've got the Lucky Corner just around the block. One thing I'd like to know is this evening, do you think we can just sit back and think baseball's really back? It's back, baby. Now, council, can we please get on board? We need you to support this endeavor. It's a whole new chapter for all of us. We will continue to grow our own piece of history within Memorial Park. Thank you for your time. And I just am honored to hear all these things you talked about Pat. I didn't know her, but I knew her a little bit by reading the board outside. That was a nice dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Yes, in the far corner.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Losnich. I'm a non-resident. My address is 682 East Garfield, Hazel Park. I'm here to show support for the Leprechauns. I'm a former baseball player myself, and going to the games over the past 3 years for this team have been wonderful. Been some of the highlights of my summer. Brings back many memories. I even played there at the field 20, 30 years ago. And it makes more memories every day. I've even housed some of the players and coaches. So some of the improvements that need to be done on the field, I mean, there's been some improvements that have been over the years, but you need a better fence. The new barriers are a lot more efficient, safer for players. No warning track makes it difficult for players to fully play the game that they need to play. They're worried about their safety, running into the fence, getting hurt. Just makes it more smooth. Everything else that's done has been nice, but there should be some more improvements to help better the field, better the game of the baseball. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Mark Stowers. I live at 1933 Wickham Street in Royal Oak. I've been there since 1995. I do work for the Royal Oak Leprechauns. I'm the public address announcer, the guy that you hear talking for 3 hours, telling you about Tanya's Pizza, the Pepsi products, everything else. I don't have my script in front of me, so I can't remember everything. But working there is a love-hate relationship for me because I love it. I love baseball. I love being there. Being in that tiny 1939 brick press box gets brutal at night. It gets to be about 90 degrees in there. I got 2 fans blowing. And the electricity shuts off every now and then. I have to run down and change a fuse. So we love what we're doing there, and we just want a little help from the city to improve the place for us, for the fans, for generations to come. I don't want it just for me. When I talk to my boss, I'm like, you're building something that's going to be here for quite a while. And we want to keep that going. It's not ours. It belongs to everybody. And so we just get to use it. And I appreciate, the mayor comes out and has thrown the first pitch. And I appreciate everybody coming out and having fun there. We just need a little help to take it up to the next level, the next notch, and, come to the Lucky Corner, have some fun with us, and play some baseball. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak tonight at public comment? Dr. Herzog and crew? Or did you guys want to go individually? Mr. Vial?
Yeah, maybe, I'm not sure, we might be a little more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, how about you guys, we'll give you at least 12 minutes.
Okay,
And
we didn't.
divide up the time how you
We didn't really sync our comments, but anyways. So, good evening, Amanda Herzog, Chair of the Environmental Advisory Board, 306 Rhode Island Avenue. As you are aware, on tonight's agenda is a resolution in support of Michigan House and Senate environmental bills adopting, that's on there. The Environmental Advisory Board is advising the Commission to consider adopting the resolution because the state initiatives align with the goals established by the City Commission to achieve 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050. They also align with the actions outlined in the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. And I'm joined here tonight by my board colleagues, Paul Vial and Andrew Sopolis. They have been working closely and vetting out these bills, and they can speak to them more specifically. I'm here, though, to speak on a more personal note. So when I moved to Royal Oak after graduate school, a power outage to me meant drinking the beer in my refrigerator with my husband in the backyard. When I became a working mom, power outage had me terrified about losing the stock of frozen breast milk in the freezer, risking the flexibility in feeding my children. And now with my children older, I'm concerned for my senior parents and their medications that must remain refrigerated. There are many more social impacts of power outages that Royal Oakers face: food insecurities, medical devices, mental health issues, etc. And we in Royal Oak are experiencing frequent power outages. Just last week, Royal Oakers were impacted by the round of storms that happened. And the frequency and duration of these outages have many concerns. So it's important to invest in resilient systems. So for Royal Oak's safety, public health, and meeting the city's environmental goals depend on it. And these bills will put us on the pathway to a greener, more sustainable future. I just want to make one note. Commissioner Pat Perush was an inspiration, and I just want to thank you all for sharing your memories of her.
Thank you, Dr. Herzog.
Do you still drink beer in your backyard and power
Yeah,
goes out?
of course.
Mr. Vial?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Herzog. Thank you, commissioners, mayor, city staff. That was really great with regards to your homage to Pat Perush. My condolences, very heartfelt words that you had to say, and I was just thinking this past week, I'm going to take a little side here just because of that. There's a lot of misinformation going around with regards to our master plan, and I couldn't help but thinking if Pat had it in her, we would be ahead of this, because I know she stepped up on a number of occasions to help get the word out, help communicate what needed to be communicated to help us move forward. So I'm right with you in terms of her loss. I'm feeling it too, so thank you. Back to the renewable energy. There are seven Senate bills that we want to support and 5 House bills. Of the 7 Senate bills, our Senator Stephanie Chang was a co-sponsor of all 7, so I want to acknowledge that. There are 3 in particular that I'm going to focus on that I think will most benefit the city of Royal Oak and its sustainability plan, and that's the requiring utilities to have a renewable energy portfolio that has 60% renewable energy by 2030 and 100% by 2035. In order to meet those greenhouse gas reduction goals, this is absolutely essential that our utilities step up and meet these requirements. Also, another bill addresses energy efficiency that requires our utilities to achieve a 2%, or electric utilities to achieve at least a 2% annual electric energy efficiency requirement. So this is the program that, there's rebates and there's things, they have to work with the community. We need this kind of support going forward, and this mandates this in one of the bills. And then the last is develop a statewide plan to reduce emissions from heating homes and businesses. I mean, I think this is going to be the toughest challenge for us as a society. I mean, it would be one thing, to produce our electricity from renewable sources, but looking forward, we all heat our houses and buildings with natural gas, and this is going to be a huge, I've heard estimates statewide, we're talking $57 billion. So we need a plan to start us down that path, and that's one of the bills too. So that's my comments. Go ahead, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you to the Commission for the opportunity to speak, and condolences, I'll third that, for Commissioner Perush, who took many really important votes on the environment here at the Commission, and I think was not only a friend to current Royal Oakers, but friend to the environment and to future generations as well. And just want to recognize that. I also want to recognize that I was just out west. I just got back, and climate's been on my mind a lot recently. Out there, drought is really important. And so some of the ecosystems we see, they're so fragile. There's 1% of the surface area is actually wetland in places like Colorado, but 40% of the species rely on those wetlands. So when we talk about drought, we see a really delicate balance in our ecosystems. And I think there's a narrative we tell ourselves about Michigan that we're special, when it comes to climate change. We're going to have it better than some folks because we have water, because we have maybe a more moderate temperature than other places. But the reality is, when I was coming home, we were hit with two really powerful and intense storms. And right where my parents live in Livingston County, actually, there was a tornado. We believe there was actually another one, or at least some kind of rotation that knocked out a bunch of trees that wasn't documented because there was a lot of damage directly in their neighborhood, trees on houses, cars were smashed in, and they were in the basement, huddling because there's this giant storm around. My retired parents, and I was getting off a flight where I was stuck at the airport because half of our airport had been closed and all the flights had been rerouted to the other terminals. So there was not enough transportation services to get everyone off site. So I saw climate change out there, and I saw climate change here affecting my family and our communities, and it really drove home for me how important this moment is, and how, in many ways we're just in the opening act. Even if we turned the switch on emissions today, there's a lag. It would take a generation for us to restore the balance in nature. So I just want to emphasize the bills that are happening today are going on right now in the legislature. It's a once in a generation opportunity for us to take action. This is not going to come along again like this. So I appreciate the attention of the Commission to this issue. I appreciate all the work that's been done on the sustainability plan. We are a leading city in many ways when it comes to this, and I've enjoyed being on the board and working with a lot of the Commission and the volunteers there. And I just appreciate the time and want to flag that I'm here to answer any questions about the bills if you have it. We have our legislative and political director, Christy, here as well. So we hope to hear a little bit about your thoughts and hope we can count on your support for this moment to really be a leader again in Oakland County and in Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are a leader because of the hard, dedicated work of the volunteer EAB. And we're very grateful to have such a passionate, strong, forward-looking working board that pushes things through versus just sitting back and asking about our recycling program. It's a very very proud point for our community. All right, I'm looking around. Anybody else want to come to public comment? Going once. Going twice. I won't count that as a bid. All right, we'll return the meeting to this side of the table and continue with our agenda. So we have a consent agenda in front of us. Does anyone wish to pull anything off tonight's consent agenda? I don't see any of the commissioners looking to pull anything. Commissioner Douglas?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Dr. Andrews pointed out when she came up to public comment, the Human Rights Commission has an annual report on this consent agenda. I just want to thank them for putting that together for us. You know, it's been, they've done a lot of work in the last, 8 months now to get this together. So, you know, a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Andrews, Chair Dr. Andrews and the Commission, and looking forward to what they do next.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Yeah, just echo that. We have some really great folks serving this community in our organizations and in our volunteer boards, doing outstanding work. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, this brings us to item 10, which is the public hearing of necessity and standard resolutions 3 and 4, special assessment paving of Massasoit Road. We have our distinguished city engineer, Ms. Donahue, here to open us up.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This evening has the public hearing of necessity for paving of Massasoit Road. This is between Tonawanda and Hampton. This block has 4 properties that are within the assessment district, and we had a petition that had 50% of the properties in favor. The clerk did send notice to all the property owners of the public hearing this evening and also published it in the paper. So after closing the public hearing tonight, I have 2 resolutions for your consideration. The first is Standard Resolution 3 that would declare this project as a necessity, and then the next one is Standard Resolution 4, and that would set the date for the public hearing of assessment to be on September 25th.
Questions for Ms. Donahue? No questions. Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Same rules apply as public comment. Anyone here to speak at the public hearing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the side of the table. We have a couple resolutions for our consideration. Commissioner Douglas?
I'll move approval of special assessments resolution 3.
A motion by Commissioner Douglas, second by Commissioner Dubug. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Do we need
Oh, was that roll call?
No.
No, I didn't think, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Did she only say 3?
Michelle did 3.
You just did 3, not 4.
I just did 3.
Let me get.
What did you do 4?
Oh, 3. Okay. Commissioner Colo?
I move approval of special assessment standard resolution 4.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubug. Discussion? We need a roll call on this one? No? Just double checking now. Everyone's got me guessing my game. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, those were the only 2 in front of us. Let's go to number 11. Approval of Traffic Committee Resolutions, July 2023. Engineer Donahue.
Yes, I have tonight some recommendations from the Royal Oak Citizens Traffic Committee from their July 25th meeting. Tonight there are 4 proposed resolutions for you, and I can certainly take questions during or after the discussion. The Traffic Committee did vote unanimously on each of the resolutions presented tonight. So item 6A, this was to evaluate speeding on Murray Avenue. This is south of Lexington, kind of in the area where a lot of high schoolers come and go to school. The committee here is recommending installation of 2 25-mile-per-hour speed limit signs, and they have also directed staff to prepare some additional traffic calming options to bring back to them at a future date. Item 6B was a request to add some crosswalk signage for an existing crosswalk that is kind of along the southern old truck route at the south end of Irving Avenue. This is where the road has like a 90-degree curve, but still continues to be Irving Avenue. Because it is a somewhat awkward location and it's difficult for westbound drivers to see pedestrians ahead of time, the committee is recommending approval of the installation of crosswalk signs there, just to advise drivers approaching the intersection. The requester also asked that all the signs along the truck route have reflectors installed along the signposts themselves, just to add some additional emphasis to all the signs that are along the route. Without a significant crash history or observed visibility issue, the committee did not feel that installation of reflectors at every single sign was warranted. They did recommend installing these reflectors on the new crosswalk signs, however, again, just to emphasize that there's a crosswalk there. The next item is item 6C. This was a request to install new sidewalk ramps to allow pedestrians to cross over Harrison Avenue. This is along the east side of Knowles Street, so kind of in that same area of the city by the old truck route. This area, of course, has seen significant residential development over the past few years, and so a crosswalk here would be appropriate. The committee is recommending that the ramps be installed and then also add the crosswalk signs there because there is no stop sign at that east-west direction. And they're also requesting that we put post reflectors on those signs as well. And then the final item is 6D. This was a request to remove the no turn on red sign for southbound Delamere. This is at the intersection of Delamere and Normandy. That no turn on red sign was installed back in 1996 when the traffic signal itself was installed. Normandy Road does rise pretty significantly to the east of the intersection, so as you're sitting there looking to your left, there's a hill. So you can only see about 250 feet to the east. So that has some potential issues with a shortened sight distance, and that's presumably why the sign was installed in the first place. The available sight distance that is there when we analyze it, it's borderline, depending on how fast traffic is going, whether you have enough time to stop or not, if a car is pulling out into the intersection. So to be on the safer side and a little bit more conservative, the committee is recommending that we keep that no turn on red sign in place. And that's all I have for you tonight.
Questions for Ms. Donahue? Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. The post reflectors are very cool. Madison Heights has them, and they attract my attention. But where do we stop? I mean, do you envision maybe developing some standards for those? Are we going to put them all over the city, or are we going to put them where this, how do you decide?
Sure, that's a great question. That's when we talked about this at the staff level, same concern came up. We have thousands and thousands of signs around the city. The thought of doing that everywhere is, that would be a lot. So what we had said is we've put them on the past in only a few locations, and it's usually when there's a pedestrian refuge island in the middle of a road that you might not expect, that it's pretty easy, you might run into that sign if you're not aware that it's there. So we've put them in those locations. And then as we discussed this, we said, if there was a crash history or it's pretty obvious that people just aren't seeing that sign or it's not jumping out at them enough, something to demonstrate that there's really a need to emphasize a sign, because the sign itself is reflective. That's why we design the signs the way that we do, so that you see them at night. While they do add emphasis, I won't disagree with that. It's the question of, is it warranted for every single situation? In this case, all the signs that we looked at, there really wasn't a big crash history or anything to demonstrate the need for extra emphasis.
Oh, and second question. So what is, this area has changed. We've seen the new developments on Harrison, which may reflect traffic patterns, people going to those new condos and apartment buildings. And we're looking at, crosswalks and so forth on Irving. Have we considered, has traffic changed there at all? And have we considered removing the berm on Irving? Because, of course, if you drive traffic up Irving to turn left onto Parent and then around to Harrison, those residents experience traffic. Whereas if you were to remove the berm, you would perhaps distribute that traffic up Irving as well as on Parent and around.
Sure. So I think it was in 2018 we had studied the south end there, and we looked at all the berms, not just the Irving one. So from a traffic perspective and engineering perspective, we recommended that they go away. The neighborhood did show up in force and was adamantly opposed to that. And ultimately, that was the decision, was to keep those berms in place. Let's beautify them, make them a little more attractive. And so that's kind of where we've left it. We haven't opened that can back up since then.
So I would just point out that streets exist for all of the people of our city, and being able to get around it. And I will confess, I've come up against that berm a couple of times, forgetting that it's there, and like I'm turning around in people's driveways and backtracking and trying to get where I'm going. I might be inclined to open that can of worms again.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. I guess I don't have to raise my hand to call on myself. What are the costs of those reflectors, roughly, to put you on the spot? I mean, are they really expensive, or are we talking, to do this run here, it would be in the hundreds of dollars?
It's hundreds of, it was pretty cheap, surprisingly cheap, honestly. It's more like the labor time probably costs way more than the actual material itself. The concern that I think Filipski and I discussed was when they start to peel off, like keeping track of maintaining that when we already have enough of a burden trying to just maintain our signs as they are. So that was another issue, is maintenance. But in terms of cost, not much.
Yeah, because the only argument I have is, we haven't seen accidents there, but, you have these long stretches of road that are kind of, with a lot of activity with, probably late at night Uber drivers, people walking back, I don't know if those reflectors, is there any evidence that they, other than situations that you explained, but like in these sort of constellations, does it help? I mean, is there any statistical data out there that shows that if you put the reflectors on, people, the amount of stop sign run-throughs are down 10%? Or is it kind of just a...
everything I've read is basically on the page that's trying to sell them. So I don't know that I have really great data to answer that question.
You don't have any unbiased scientific data?
Right. They don't hurt, I can tell you that much.
They don't hurt.
And I will say on Irving, we already have we have 2 crosswalks additional to this one that we're discussing tonight, approved for new installation, hopefully later this fall or next spring. And because we're doing these reflectors at this location, to me, we'll probably do those 2 as well, just to be consistent. And like you said, that's kind of a long stretch of road. Those are mid-block crosswalks, which are a little bit more unusual here in the city. So we would put them at that location.
Okay. On the stop signs and the crosswalks?
Well, just the crosswalks is the
We don't have
plan.
any stop signs on those stretches?
Right.
Commissioner Macy?
Yeah, I was wondering too about the cost. And I understand, as pointed out by Commissioner Douglas, that if a different can of worms, if we open the can of worms of just putting these up everywhere that people ask for them, it could be problematic. But if they are cheap, does it make sense as we install new stop signs to just have them go on automatically, or maybe not based on the peeling?
The maintenance.
Yeah, what's your thought about that? Is it some worth to it?
My worry is always maintenance, right? Is adding more work. In terms of cost, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's something we could do. But I also think if you start doing that, then more people call and say, I want that on my stop sign at my corner. And then what do I say? No, you don't get it because yours isn't a new stop sign. And it's kind of a difficult thing to defend at that point.
Fair. Okay, thank you.
And I just want the record to be clear. I do not want to open up the berms.
Okay. We can agree on that.
Commissioner Hunt?
I just have a question about 6A. I understand that during the traffic meeting, there was discussions about removing the no parking signs on Murray between Thistle and Lexington. Right now, there is a sign at the corner of Lexington and Murray that says no parking this side of the sign, and then there's a bunch of no parking signs. And I understand we're not removing that's not one of the recommendations, but it gets to be a bit confusing. Do you know if one of those or some of those signs would be removed? At least the no parking this side of...
Sounds like that's, yes, confusing, and probably should just be a regular no parking sign. So I'll make a note of that, and we'll take a look. Thank you.
Sometimes people make their own signs and put them in too.
I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
It looks legit.
It looks legit? Okay. Commissioner Dubois.
Thank you, Mayor. I think between staff's presentation, the resolutions unanimously supported by the Traffic Committee are well reasoned. In some cases, a compromise between staff's recommendation and what the residents want. So with that, I'll move for approval of all 4 resolutions as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Dubois, Is there a second by Commissioner Macy? Discussion? Commissioner Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm looking at, was it 6A, where I just have a question for Ms. Donahue. So you presented a solution, and then can you tell us what happened? So it was not well received by the public?
So we had kind of looked at it in a progression of solutions. We said, first we could look at doing speed limit signs. Those are pretty simple and don't really impact the residents there a whole heck of a lot. And we thought if we allow parking on that street, it will make it a little more uncomfortable to speed, and that might slow down some traffic. We had quite a few residents, I think maybe 5 or 6 show up, and I think all of them were opposed. Nobody was in favor of removing those no parking signs. They felt like it would be a real problem if we did that. Since those new homes were developed, there was like a period of time where parking was allowed because like the signs didn't go back up right away, and they said that it was problematic and kind of scary for kids. So the committee took that to heart and said, okay, we'll keep the no parking signs there. And then what we had also presented was, we don't know that it's time to do this yet, but here's a pedestrian refuge, not a refuge island, but a median island, I'll call it, a calming island, kind of closer to Thistle. Again, just to kind of break a driver's awareness and say what's going on here, and hopefully they slow down. So one of those traffic calming measures. It was, a decent investment of funds. So we said, let's try this first, and if it's still a speeding issue in the future, we have this other idea in our pocket that we could put out there. Most residents were either opposed or just like not excited about it. That's a street that it's really hard to put something in that doesn't block somebody's driveway. And so anyways, the committee went back and forth, and ultimately said, we think bump outs could work here. Can you go back and kind of present something along those lines? So that's a recommendation we can do. I threw something together, and now we're over $100,000 because there's a lot of drainage issues when you do that. So there's a lot of back and forth that sometimes happens with these committee discussions.
So I was kind of interested in that because I saw you had presented a couple designs, and then you were asked to go back and do another one. So I think it's important that, as a commission, like we talk about this, when our professional staff recommends a handful of items, I think that should be the direction, the options that are available. And if that's not to a satisfaction, we can look at it again when the road's being rebuilt in the future. But I'm not quite sure it's fair to keep on asking staff to go back at the committee level to look at something when, they are the experts here. The professional engineers are the experts here. I just want to make sure we're not sticking too close to one item, and we're continuing to look at the whole city. So that's my only comment on that.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, I will just say, the cheapest and easiest way to slow traffic on a street is to allow people to park there. It's a compromise between visibility and traffic calming, but I look at some of the narrow streets that I drive down where you've got parking on 2 sides and 1 lane of traffic down the middle, and people are kind of slaloming around and stopping to let somebody else go by, and it sure slows things down. So, and especially if we're looking to do some sort of trial, I mean, pulling out a few no parking signs and allowing parking on a street does give us a way to measure whether or not that's going to be successful. So if we have opportunities to do that in the future, I'm going to support it.
Yeah, Commissioner Douglas is right. On my street, when folks are parked, it's kind of a little pain backing out. That they've slowed down dramatically, and you see these in other parts of the country and world. They actually put like these big flower boxes in the street, so they don't have parking in the street, but they have these huge cement obstacles. Because I know it slowed me down when I'm late for work in certain places of the world. And you have to drive around. I mean, they're a heck of a job plowing around them, I imagine, when there's snow. But if that is the same as a car, it definitely works. Commissioner Macy.
As someone who spent a lot of time driving this the last 2 years, probably multiple times a day with high schoolers and soccer and sports, I would say removing the no parking signs would be disastrous. It backs up all the way down Lexington when you're trying to leave for a really long time. And as someone who's no longer driving there, because my 16-year-old is driving there, I would say they're not always the best drivers. And it's not that they're fast, but I don't know. It feels to me, I understand the concerns, but I've already talked to Ms. Donahue about farther down on Murray, closer to 13 Mile, there is parking allowed, and sometimes people park on both sides of the street, and it's a complete bottleneck, and you can't get through, like people are trying to come both ways. And I've seen some poor choices made there, and I don't know. So just as my personal experience with this, I understand, like looking at this from a traffic perspective, maybe that would make sense to slow traffic down. Of the problems that I see here, I don't think it would solve them.
Commissioner Hunt?
I would agree with Commissioner Macy. I often walk that area, mainly on the weekends and toward after work when kids are out playing. And quite often kids are jetting across the street to the park that's across the street. And my fear is that if there are cars parked there, particularly the big SUVs that we now drive, cars that are speeding down the street would not be able to see them. Quite often cars do have to stop for kids jetting across the street. So limiting that visibility is a concern to me, just for that reason.
Anybody else? Listen, I'll be supporting all these motions, although I do think that the no turn on red, Mr. McGee makes a compelling argument. And like our chief engineer says, it's pretty borderline. I probably, if I was allowed to make motions, would have moved to do that one a little differently and tried it out and see what happened. But I'm not going to not vote for something when the majority of it's pretty darn good. So, all right, notwithstanding anything else on it, any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, did we get a motion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those opposed? All right, motion passed. Clerk Hallis looked at me for a minute with like a look, and I'm like, oh wait, I thought we had a motion. Okay. Second guessing myself 3 times tonight. All right. That brings us to item 12, which is resolution in support of Michigan House and Senate environmental bills. I see Mr. Filipski's here, kicking us off.
Good evening, Mayor Fournier, City Commissioners. Just an aside before I start, you guys all made really touching tributes to Pat Perush this evening, and somebody touched on something about her ability to diplomatically sort of resolve things in conflict when you guys were deliberating things. And on my first City Commission meeting, I was scoping everybody out, taking everyone's size. That was exactly my impression of her. It was very impressive how she was able to do that. And I got to know her a little bit more, not as much as you obviously, but indeed a very sweet lady. And so thanks for sharing those with us tonight. As for the item before you, the members from the EAB already did a pretty good job of describing some of it, so I'll try not to be redundant and I'll be brief. But what's before you is a summary of the 13 pieces of legislation at the state level which addresses environmental issues that were discussed, most prominently issues that deal with incentivizing and enabling community solar, regulations concerning greenhouse gas emissions and power production, and it also does things like expand the authority of the Michigan Public Service Commission to consider environment, health, and other factors when they're making decisions in relation to utility planning and regulation. So this summary, as noted, was put together by the members of the EAB, some of whom are here. Most notably, Paul Weil worked a lot on this, and I just wanted to acknowledge the hard work they do behind the scenes. So in their capacity at our meeting, they decided that this was these initiatives were important enough to put before the City Commission, and so that's what's there for you today to consider. Because they align with our SCAP goals, should you wish to endorse these in a more firm way, staff would work to draft a letter with a copy of this resolution and transmit that to the legislators that are mentioned here. So I don't know what else I can add. I'm not very familiar with the details of them, but we know that some folks here in the audience are and can help with questions related to that. Beyond that, I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Questions at the moment? Comments? Commissioner Mason?
I hate to start this off on a downer because reading through this, it sounds great and like things that we should support, but it does give me a little bit of pause working with legislation in my daily work right now. The legislators have people on their staff who are analyzing these bills from both sides and are letting the legislators know, this is what's been said and this is who's for and against and here's what it could mean and here are the consequences. And I mean, this is a resident commission that's recommending a lot of bills that we're saying that we support without having an in-depth analysis of them. And it makes me a little bit anxious. Like, they all sound great when I'm reading them here, but I don't know anything more about them, and it seems like a lot to ask. If we go out there and say Royal was supporting all these, and then someone comes back to us next week and says, "Oh, really? You think that we should be, cutting the education budget in half so that we can install solar on every city building?" I'm not saying that's what it says, but I'm saying there are two sides to every story, and we don't have staff who are analyzing these for us. So it makes me a little nervous. Like, I support all of these things, but this feels odd to me. It's a lot of bills to be throwing our support behind without having any kind of legislative analysis on them.
Mr. Fellow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my first inclination when I saw this package was actually, I agreed with Commissioner Macy and what she was thinking, because I know we kind of went through this a couple months ago with another item, but then doing some research on this and seeing the broad support, especially among the people who represent us, who really share our values, gave me a lot of relief. And then having Senator Chang here tonight and knowing that this is a package of bills that she has co-sponsored, I think is very important. And then also knowing that, the EAB, I was actually at the meeting, I sat in, Chair Herzog, Dr. Herzog invited me down to it that night, that they went through these, and there was a long, good discussion on it. And, knowing that Andrew is part of the Sierra Club, and this is supported by the Sierra Club, another organization that we all unanimously support, I know that a lot of people that we trust also support this, and it's moving, there's a lot of things in these bills, having read through a lot of them this weekend, that we all support. I mean, we know that we need to hit greenhouse gas reduction, like the flat out, and we have a very ambitious goal set forth by the EAB with our SCAP that is not possible without help from the state. Flat out can't happen unless the state comes in and actually makes some changes also. I mean, there's a lot that we're doing, and like I said, we are leading, we're going in the right direction, but we definitely need state help to get there. So this is going to be, there's political moving right now to actually help see this happen. We clearly don't have a vote, but we're just letting our support, right? Like, this is letting our friends know that their district, their home district, supports what they're doing and how they're going. And once I saw the list of people who are supporting it and know that it includes our allies and people that are working with us, I knew that this is something that we could come to the table and support here tonight, because this will make a difference if this passes. So I think it's something that the commission should support tonight.
I'll just add, in the absence of any other legislation to help us achieve our goals as a community, this is what our state legislature has worked on and has in front of us to tackle these ambitious goals that we have, these necessary goals that we have. And so you're right, I haven't read every single one of these bills. I know we put trust in Senator Chang and Senator McMorrow and all of our 4 reps to weed out any inconsistencies there, but in the absence of an alternative, for me, it's important to support the work that our folks have done on our behalf here to achieve our goals. I don't know that there's an alternative out there currently right now that will help us move the ball. If there is a poison pill in here somewhere, I'm putting a little bit of trust that our state representatives would understand and in some small sentence pick it up that maybe we wouldn't pick up in the briefs. Commissioner Dubuck?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I appreciate the concern. I mean, anytime you weigh in on legislation, it hasn't been fully through the process yet. It's not, on final passage, which means it's going to be amended and evolved, but that's the case. Anytime we weigh in on legislation, it could be, they could turn white into black and up into down before it gets to the end of the process. But as these bills stand today, most of which are bills that have been introduced multiple sessions over and over again and ignored by previous majorities in the state legislature, are clearly actions that are aligned with our SCAP as Commissioner Cole said, supported by all the leading environmental organizations in the state, who I do trust and support. Are the other side of the coin. There's a lot that we need to do as local governments to activate, to protect, not just combat climate change, which is an imperative, but we're protecting the health and safety and property of our residents. And that has to happen now, and that requires substantial shift in the status quo, and that requires legislation. And these bills really strike at the heart of the things that need to be done on a statewide systemic level to achieve the kind of change that needs to happen. I think Royal Oak's an important community in speaking out on this. We have a full delegation, a full legislative delegation now. We have 4 state representatives and 2 state senators. I think telling them that we do fully support these bills in the direction that they're going. I'm grateful for the leadership of our Environmental Board's Advisory Board Chair, Amanda Herzog, as well as the efforts of the board members who not only wrote the SCAP and put in all the work to identify real viable solutions we can activate on at the local level, but have done the work to ensure that these bills are aligned with those values and those objectives. So there's not a question in my mind that sending a message to our legislators that we support this package of bills wholeheartedly, and that we are willing to work with them to ensure that they see the governor's signature before this session is over. I think is absolutely the right thing to do. So with that, I will move in support of the resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Dubuck. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hart. Discussion. Commissioner Macy.
Okay, so I guess just to follow up, I'm still in support of this, but so would we, if every week we got something that all of our senators and representatives supported, we would just vote to support them? I mean, it just seems like that's a very broad stroke to say, like, oh, the people we know and trust support this, but they've introduced hundreds of bills, and this is us saying, okay, we don't know anything about these in particular, but because you like it, we like it too.
I would chime in and say, that's a fair point, but I'd say this is directly correlated with one of our most important goals that we have under the SCAP. I mean, it is something that will help us enable our ability to get there, and we have the EAB, who we entrusted to go do the homework and research, just like we entrust the parks folks to go and do their homework and research on the master plan and all of that. So I think it's your point's fair, but I think it's a little bit of a different situation because of the alignment with our SCAP.
Sorry, can I finish?
Yeah.
I mean, but...
Oh, I thought you asked a question, sorry.
Well, so did we ask the EAB to do this? This is great. I'm not saying it's not great, but is this in the mandate of our boards to bring us state legislation that we would support? This is an honest question.
I'll let Commissioner Dubuck answer that.
It has been, it has been a tradition on the EAB to analyze all options at the city's disposal to help advance our goals regarding climate change being a sustainable city. So yes, this isn't the first time that they've brought forward a recommendation that we support state legislation. We've done it multiple times over the years. I do find the suggestion that we're just like, oh, so-and-so likes it, so we like it. That's clearly not what I said. That is one of the key arguments here. These are substantive policies that have been circulating for many years that weren't just introduced and written in the last couple months, but are really kind of bread and butter environmental policy that hasn't had the chance to see the light of day because previous majorities scuttled it without any conversation. This is an opportunity to actually have hearings and mold these bills and establish meaningful climate policy now. And we're well past, us being well behind our deadline on this. So I'm not saying I like because I like it. I like because I know these policies. Our environmental board knows these policies. Now, the nuts and bolts and how they all work together. You're talking about radical shift in the status quo. There will be discomfort. There will be cost. But nothing near as great of a cost as doing nothing. And for us to stand up and say, this is the right direction, we support these bills, keep moving them through the process, is not just co-signing because someone we likes them. This is, again, a moral and economic imperative.
Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, you know, I think to Commissioner Macy's point, one thing that might be good here, you know, I'm clearly going to favor this tonight, but I think, you know, when looking at recommendations from boards and committees that go through Mr. Drake's office, I think we're looking for an analysis in the future before it just comes to us in this raw form. So I think maybe a little bit more insight as to who, you know, the sponsors of the bill, who's supporting the bill, and the impact of the bill. Then what we got here, while it was, there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of, you know, there's a huge package of bills here. So I think in the future, when a board sets us something, we might want to have a little bit more insight into what it is, as opposed to what we just saw here tonight. I think that might be the path forward to make sure that we're getting what we need to do an analysis before we vote on this.
I mean, I feel like I got a lot of information in here that explains what each bill is going to do, and I can look up each one of these bills to see where they stand today as well. So,
did you?
Commissioner Douglas?
And apropos of Mr. Cole's comment, I serve on the Michigan Municipal League's Legislative Policy Committee, so City Manager Brake could very easily ask me to bring this to that committee or to the staff at MML for further analysis or for their take on their appropriateness. So maybe we want to put this decision off for 2 weeks while I run it by MML?
I don't know what MML is going to tell us in terms of, you know, if, you know, what these bills, I don't know. I don't know that they would have an impact for me. We know that moving forward with our environmental objectives are going to have some impact on us financially. They're going to have impacts on us on how we look and design our roads, how we interact with other cities, how we interact with our residents, how we interact with the state, and how we interact with utilities. And we have leadership from the state that's putting this out, saying this is the things that we need to do, because not doing so is an analysis of trade-off to say, oh, well, I guess if we just don't do these things, then, you know, we'll continue to have climate change impacts that, you know, we're already going to feel for decades, and it's our responsibility to put a curb on it. I also feel that we have folks that are very well vetted in the state that are looking at all elements of it, and if we have any you know, any mandates that come out of this that need to be financed, the state constitution requires that they fund us for any mandates that come out of this. So there's a lot of protections already in the, well, it's constitutional. So,
so to continue, I wasn't done.
Oh, well, you asked questions and then you paused. So I was answering the question.
As Commissioner Macy says, there are often Easter eggs in bills like this, bad Easter eggs that are, or unintended consequences. And I just, MML has staff that analyzes bills with an eye towards their, you know, municipal implications on municipalities. I don't know if any of these are up for an immediate vote, what the timetable is, but it strikes me that it wouldn't hurt us to take a 2-week pause to take another look at this. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hunt.
Yes, I had the same concern as Commissioner Macy when I first saw this. I was looking through, you know, see if there were more pages, because I thought there would be a summary, perhaps giving a bit more of a narrative for each one of these. But I did have the opportunity to go through and look at them. As I read through them, I did believe that they, you know, supported our SCAP, our initiatives here in the city. But I completely understand what, you know, Commissioner Douglas is indicating. There are often things hidden in there, words being twisted that may cause some harm down the road. I would have no issue allowing an independent or Mr. Brake's office to review that, but as I said today, I'm fully supportive of this.
Commissioner DeBuck.
Like, the leading environmental organizations in the state support this. I'm not sure what's going to unwind that, especially if these bills are basically just at the state level completely aligned with what we've proposed in our SCAP. It's basically giving teeth to what we've already said we want to do. So, I mean, you can comb through any bill and find something you don't like in it. I don't know that I just don't see a compelling case to wait on this is if we're going to say like, oh no, we shouldn't go renewable by 2035 because it's going to cost money. It's inevitably going to cost money. We know that's a fact. But again, the fact is that it doesn't cost as much as not doing anything, and we're already seeing the consequences of that. So I think this like kind of wait for the perfect solution is exactly why we're in the situation we're in. I think supporting these bills, moving forward, pushing this conversation forward is exactly aligned with what we've already adopted in our SCAP. I'm not understanding any rationale to wait on what is basically a public endorsement of these top line policies.
Just pause, I'm waiting. Waiting, you're good? Yeah. Okay. And I'd argue, I'm not sure that we ran our SCAP by the MML or any, you know what I mean? Like this is something that, we're doing as a community, we're protecting our four corners, and we need the state to jump in and do what they've proposed. And I agree with Commissioner Dubuck, no bill is ever going to be perfect. It's always an evolution. They're constantly changing bills, just like we change ordinances as we learn. But we need, as a leader in the state, in terms of environmental sustainability, we need to have our voices heard. And supporting bills like this certainly elevates the conversation and gets our representatives a little bit more teeth to get these things done. I'll go Commissioner Colo, and then I'll go Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to be clear, I'm definitely not proposing that we pause this tonight. I think that this one has been well vetted, especially we had one of the co-sponsors of the bill here tonight thanking us for our consideration of it. And I trust our senators and our representatives who have already put this together. I think in the future that is not a bad idea. When we've not paid as much research into it, we've not had the sponsor of the bills here before us tonight. I think that moving this along, like Commissioner Dubuck said, accomplishes our goals. Like this is what we're looking for. It doesn't bind us to anything. It just signals that Royal Oak wants to remain an environmental leader, that we are trying to move forward and leave a better tomorrow for our children, our grandchildren. I really think, once again, my idea definitely was not for this set tonight, but for one in the future. We had a sponsor here, we've had lead environmental organizations here. This seems like a home run for us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is when we need Commissioner Perush here to be the voice of reason and bring us all together and say the right thing. And I want to clarify, I know our environmental advisory board and I do trust them, but it seems like a bad precedent is what I'm bringing forward. And I think we've now had discussion about this table about what this could look like in the future. And the idea that I had while listening to everyone talk at great length was maybe we could have the environmental advisory board be on the agenda and they could come and talk to us. I mean, I know they were at public comment, but that's not quite the same thing because it's not giving us a full chance to dive into what's being proposed here and to kind of give the back and forth of the questions. I'm supporting this today. I don't feel a need to put a hold on this, but it surprised me to have it on the agenda in this way and then not to have any kind of full presentation on what the bills meant. So whether it be MML or Mr. Brake's office or the EAB, who's done the work already, bringing us that information, that's what I'd like to see in the future. So I'm not trying to put this on hold. I'm not trying to throw a wrench in it. I'm just waving the flag that it made me a little bit uncomfortable, and I think there's a better way to do this going forward. I'm done now.
Thank you. No rhetorical questions that I interpret as real questions?
No pauses.
Anybody else? All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Unanimously.
Unanimously, it passed. This brings us to item 13, which is the approval of employment agreement.
Good evening, Mayor Fournier and members of the City Commission. 2 weeks ago, you unanimously approved Nick Grokowski as your new city attorney. as I was, the instructions that were given at that meeting is to negotiate an employment agreement. And I've also had individual conversations with a few of you and input in presenting to you the agreement that we've reached through the assistance of Howard Schiffman. The attached agreement is included following the cover memo and recommending the employment agreement as presented.
Questions for Mr. Brake? Mr. Grochowski, this is a little awkward.
You need to leave the room, Mayor.
You know, go ahead, Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess, Mr. Brake, I guess my question would be, this seems to be a closed session conversation that we should have had just to maybe discuss this to begin with. Is there a reason why? Is this standard practice? I thought last time we talked about the attorney contract in closed session first.
Having gone through this 2 years ago, I don't recall that as a process, and I don't believe that was even on my own employment agreement. So, and furthermore, you saw this in draft form, so I didn't hear any concerns expressed or anything like that. It does have some consistency with other executive department head employment agreements. There's no irregularities. There were some comments that I forwarded on that having Mr. Schiffman that can articulate those values were quite helpful. We went through a couple iterations. What I initially presented was not accepted, and vice versa. So I think this is a fair compromise, and I think for a competitive executive compensation and related compensation package, I think this is appropriate, and that's why I'm lending my recommendation to approve this as presented. But if there's additional concerns, this goes back retroactive to August 14th. So if there are issues that I'm missing here, that's you can table this and we could bring that up at the next meeting. But again, I'm still lending my support as presented.
Just a quick question of clarification. This was modeled after Mr. Leal's
It was with some
contract,
modifications.
with some modifications to
Yes.
go back. So I think all of us were here when Mr. Leal was hired, correct? So
Yes.
we kind of tweaked that one, I believe. And that one was, different time, different candidate, everything, but as the base body, it did make sense to us years ago. Except obviously the retro, which I think is appropriate because Mr. Grochowski has been doing the city manager work all this, or I'm sorry,
The city attorney
work all this time.
Let's keep those separate. And there is also some consideration that the other thing that would be unique is that we're changing the way that it accumulates compensatory time, and we did include where we're essentially kind of clearing out the bank, if you will. Of paying out, but he does not have that eligibility here in the future. So this is kind of in fairness of the work that he's performed up until this time, and that was pointed out to me, and I agree with that. And so it's a little different that we have someone that is promoted into the position, whereas before Mr. Leal came from outside of the organization. And there were some other items that Mr. Leal had in his agreement that you will not find in Mr. Grochowski's agreement. So, and that was based on some feedback that I received, and point well taken. So.
Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Douglas?
I'll move approval of the agreement.
A motion by Commissioner Douglas, second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion. Just say I'm glad we got this contracted in short order. Mr. Grochowski, you've been working out quite well, and you've been doing the role and stepped up to the plate when you were asked to. And I'm glad that we were able to get, for government timing, relatively quick turnaround here after making our decision to get you all contracted up and make it official. So welcome again.
Thank you.
And we're so grateful for your service and look forward to a very fruitful relationship for years to come. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. It would be more awkward if we were terminating his contract. But giving him a contract is not as awkward. Okay, that brings us to the last item on tonight's agenda, which was added. The approval of the agenda, which is item 14, for a discussion on, or resolution on following council's advice out of closed session. Commissioner Macy?
I'll make a motion to proceed on advice of council on the matter discussed in closed session, Michigan Open Carry versus City of Roanoke.
Motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. All right, discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. And that brings us to the end of the agenda.
Move we adjourn.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Adjourned.